So I'm here at the London Free Press, and we're going to be talking to Kate Dubinski about how journalists can now use social media to research stories. Okay, so what social media tools do you use in your for your story research?
So I use Twitter a lot. So I'll do sort of the crowdsourcing thing where I ask people about whether or not they've heard of something that's going on, or on a bad day like yesterday where I had nothing assigned, I would ask for story ideas from people, from my followers on Twitter. Also, Facebook. So we use Facebook a lot for researching usually stories that we already know about. So if there's a memorial page for someone that died, for example, we'll use Facebook for that, or just kids talking about the guy who apparently hacked into the school board. There's Facebook pages set up, and so we use those as jumping off points for either people to talk to or just to quote in articles. And then just search tools. So we'll use sometimes Stumble Upon It, or search.twitter.com, just to see what's trending and what people are looking at online.
Okay, so talk to me a little bit about Twitter. Why do you like using Twitter?
Because you never really know what you're going to get back. So there are things that I will tweet about, and they'll develop into full-fledged conversations. And they might not make it into the paper, but you're interacting with your readers, and so they're kind of getting to know you as a person and as a reporter. And they can retweet things, right? So I might say I need someone who is 35 and still living with their parents, and I might not know anyone like that. And before, we used to just send out an email to the newsroom, does anyone know anyone like that? But now I've got however many 1,100 followers, and then they can retweet it. There's so much more possibility that you'll get that person that you're looking for, no matter how obscure they are. So that's why I like Twitter. And people will alert us to either mistakes that we've made in the paper, or things that we should be covering. So a lot of story ideas from Twitter.
And how often does Twitter pop up in your stories at the moment?
Quite often recently, but that's because I do write so much about technology and social media, so I tend to write about it a lot. I guess a good example might be the Twitten article. What happened was Deb Van Brank, one of our editors, saw that someone was talking about something called Twittens, and she retweeted it. And I think she might have sent me an email saying, I wonder if this is something you're interested in. So I went online and I checked it out, and I think I did a search.twitter.com on Twittens, and saw that people were indeed talking about it. So I thought, okay, this would be a cool story for us to write about, because people don't know about it. And so I convinced the editors I think they ended up putting it on the front page. So I think that would be a good example. If someone saw someone talking about something on Twitter, passed it along to me by a retweet, and then by an email, just to make sure I got it, and then I talked to people that I knew had them sort of on Twitter and put that into the article. So
what do you think are the potential pitfalls or things that we should consider when using Twitter?
Well, you never know who the person is that's answering, right? So unless you meet them face to face, you're not verifying that the information that you're getting is correct. Same with Facebook. So I think as a reporter, have to be extra diligent to make sure that you're getting accurate information, and to double and triple check something that's going on. So, for example, a couple days ago, on November 11th, there was a there was a school lockdown in East London, and it came across on Twitter at like noon. So I retweeted it and said, going to this school lockdown. Turned out it had happened from about 11 to 11:15, but people hadn't known about it till about an hour later. So it was sort of old news, but everyone was tweeting it as if it was new news. So you have to be really careful about what the source is and what you're retweeting, because you want to maintain your credibility.
Yeah. And how do you see this? How do you see Twitter? Like, do you think it's just a fad, or do you think it's something that would be sort of essential for the journalist? Maybe not even now, maybe in the future.
I think things like it will be essential. I have no idea whether it'll be Twitter or it'll be Skitter or whatever it'll be called, but I think we're definitely going into sort of crowdsourcing and that kind of research for stories, at least for some stories. So it'll be essential for something. It'll be just another tool that we use. So just like 5 years ago, we all started getting Facebook accounts because it was important to know what was on the memorial pages or what was going on Facebook. Now everyone has a Twitter account and is on there. So I don't know how mainstream it is among people who aren't in the media, and or like people who aren't in like marketing roles. So I think that it's really popular with people in the media and marketing. Excuse me. But whether it's popular with, say, high school students, that's a whole demographic that we wouldn't be able to reach with Twitter. So I think it just sort of will become one of the tools in the toolbox as opposed to being, the be-all and end-all.
Should there be a concern that, you've mentioned crowdsourcing quite a few times, should there be a concern that perhaps crowdsourcing might take over journalists, like the people who are helping in the crowdsourcing eventually become the journalists themselves?
Well, it's interesting. I was talking to one of my colleagues, and he said, make sure you tell those students that the reason why social media exists is because of the mainstream media. So I think that, I don't think so, because I think that there's always that need for the sort of reliable source, right? And the credible source that's sort of done research. So I think that crowdsourcing is really important, and it will help us in sort of the more mainstream media do our jobs. But I don't think that it'll take over, because not everyone's on it, right? And it doesn't necessarily reach everyone who needs to be reached. And people inevitably link to the New York Times or CNN or something for a really important story. So I think the crowdsourcing works in that it helps people get to the sources. It doesn't necessarily take over them.